Welcome back, everyone. It's week 2 of your WildFit journey, and I wanted to check in with all of you and see how the buffer zone has gone, see what questions you might have, see what decisions you've made, if you've added in those fruits, those additional vegetables, and how the alkagizer might be tasting. So let's see who's all on here. Joy, it looks like you are the first person to join. Do you want to share your experience and how the buffer zone has gone?
Yes, I went shopping for vegetables. Actually, I bought quite a lot to my husband's surprise, and I must confess I'm not a lover of vegetables. I usually eat a lot of meats.
Okay.
So when I made the alkagizer this morning, I had a hard time swallowing it down, but I managed to finish the whole thing, not in one go. I let my husband try it out, and he said it didn't taste too bad. So
Good.
I've made another batch for tomorrow morning because I'm working in another 7 hours time. I won't have the time to make it in the morning, so I made
Good.
upfront. Mm,
Uh-oh.
as for the fruits, I tried. I need to get uh, but I think I'll persist a few more days. I want it to happen. So I've bought enough for I think the entire week.
Perfect. That's usually what I end up doing because, I mean, really, most of the grocery stores that I need to go to get them are like an hour away, like an hour drive. So I plan accordingly and make sure that I stock up for the week and get enough for the entire family. So it does come down to planning. So it sounds like you've got some, which is great. You've got your fruit to do in the morning. You've tried the alkagizer. So realize how did your recipe for your alkagizer, like how many apples, or did you add any other fruits, or did you follow it exactly according to the recipe? How did you make it?
I follow the ingredients, but I think not strictly to the recipe because by the time I added the spinach, the what do you call it, celery,
Mm-hmm.
and apples, and the avocado, I felt it was quite thick already. So I added like one apple, and I saw the consistency was a bit like thick. So I didn't add the, I think the recipe requires 3 apples, if I'm not mistaken, right? I can't
You
remember,
can, you
something
can
like
add
that.
any number, but yes,
Oh,
that's where it starts.
okay. So instead of using 3 apples, I use one apple. Uh, I add a little lime because I wanted some flavoring to it, some different taste. Um, but I used the fresh coconut juice because I can't find the packaged one. So
Hey, even
well,
better.
it was okay. I mean, the taste is not like sweet like I usually had fruit juice, so the taste is sweet. This isn't, but I think you'll get I need a little getting used to it. So
Yeah, yeah, and it's about getting enough of the good stuff, right? So use that as a base, and you can tweak that recipe as you see it. If you want to add in some more apples, that'll obviously add to the sweetness of it. So also from a consistency standpoint, some people like it thick, and you can actually almost kind of like chew it. It's great because it mixes with your saliva in your mouth. Others like it a little bit thinner. If you want to add more coconut water or just regular water, you can to thin it out. So I'm kind of in the middle. So I usually sometimes I'll put it in a container like a mason jar and I'll just drink it. And then there's other times where I'll drink it through a straw. I don't know why, but sometimes it's thinner. I'll enjoy it through a straw. Other times it's just drinking it. So I'm glad that you tried it out, and it sounds like you're getting your recipe figured out. So you'll find what works out for you. That's awesome. What kind of vegetables did you pick up from the store?
Uh, I think that's called spinach, right?
Spinach.
Spinach. I got celeries,
Mm-hmm.
carrots, tomato,
Mm-hmm.
mm, uh, some what do you call it? I don't know what it's called in English because it's I go to an Asian market, so the vegetables there are, um, we call it heng chai, which is like a Chinese version of spinach. So
Okay.
uh,
Leafy greens is good.
yeah, it's all greens. Those are all leafy greens. Kale, I think in English it's called kale. There's one.
Yeah.
A few kinds, like I think five kinds of green leafy veggie.
Perfect. All good for either your appetizer or salads, and adding to your sides. Your sides aren't necessarily your sides. I had somebody commenting just the other day. It's like I used to be meat and potatoes type of guy and have, you know, my plate was like almost all meat and a little potatoes, and those green vegetables were kind of on the side. Those were the side dishes. But we want more than half your plate to be the vegetables, and obviously that's the majority of the food that you're eating from a vegetable standpoint.
Do you
So
eat your vegetables raw, or do you like cook it, have a stir fry, or steamed, or a steam? How do you do it?
so the nice thing about doing it raw is that you're not denaturing any of the enzymes that are in that living plant. So that's going to help you from a digestion standpoint. Um, Not everybody's going to eat all their vegetables raw, though. So I usually either steam, and if you want to steam them, just scare them a little. I don't really like raw broccoli a whole lot, so I like it steamed. And I don't want it to be, a pile of mush. Like sometimes you go to the restaurant and they get steamed broccoli, and you could drop it to your plate and it would just be a puddle of goo. You want it to have a little bit of crunch left to it. So steaming is good. Sauteing them, that's fine. Using some of the good oils, avocado, coconut, or olive oil, to saute them. Roasting them in the oven. Sometimes I'm busy in the evening and I don't need to deal with everything, so I'll put a chicken breast and a pan of broccoli, cauliflower, or sweet potatoes, and throw it all on a cookie sheet, throw it in the oven, and it's done in a half hour. So, roasting vegetables is fine as well. Adding in some different herbs and seasonings to kind of spice things up a little and change the flavors. I love garlic, so adding fresh garlic to my salads as well as my vegetables is always good.
Mhm.
Good question. Anything else you want to share, Joy? You think you got a good plan for the week? You're ready to add in all these abundance of fruits and vegetables?
I'm excited to give it a try.
Awesome.
Mm.
That's good. Well, thanks. If there's any other questions that you have, don't hesitate to reach out in the Facebook group or see if there's anything else.
Mm. Sure.
Uh, awesome. Who's next? Is it Vicky?
Okay. So, as you know, I've already done the 14 days challenge. So I already had 2 weeks of appetizer. And I have to admit that I removed the apple from the recipe because I'm not fond of apples. That's the only fruit. I know this is the more general, the classic, and the first fruit that we think of when anybody pronounce fruit. But for me, it was always, it was bloating me anytime, even the stomach, even with an empty stomach. So I must have some kind of intolerance or whatever. And the first days I was struggling with it, but then, okay, I said, okay, let's remove the apple. And now I have a nice green taste
Mhm.
for my energizer. I tried it with one kiwi, but it only added some acid flavor. So now I drink it, or I mean, I chew it because my blender is a common one. So mine is quite thick,
Mhm.
and I have to chew it. So mine is just to have it with a spoon.
Okay.
It's spoon thick, and well, it's the only thing is that I have less quantity of each. So I don't have a whole cucumber, but third one of a whole cucumber. I take one celery stalk,
Mhm.
and well, I still have half an avocado because that makes it nice and creamy,
Creamy.
and
Mhm.
of course spinach. And as in Central Europe, coconut water is not that common thing. I already identified some shops when I can get it, but you know, coconut water is not the same as coconut
Mhm. Yeah.
or coconut milk that I really love, but coconut water is not that. So at the moment, I drink it just like water. So
That's fine.
add water. With vegetables, I don't have any issue with that. I even have several days during a week without meat at all. And the only difference that I'm doing now is that I eat my lentil or chickpea curries with some kind of other vegetables, leaving it crunchy. So crunchy cauliflower or crunchy broccoli, or well, mushroom is not that crunchy, but I cook it much less than before. And basically that's it. The only thing that um, I have no hunger at all. I'm not
That's great.
hungry at all anymore. So this must have been that my hunger was basically nutritional hunger,
Mhm.
because fruit was not on my menu,
Mhm.
not at all. So if I wanted something sweet, I always, went for chocolate and cakes and never for fruit. And now that I begin and I pass through all my morning with fruits, it means that, well, even at noon, I'm not hungry. And then I take my Alkagizer. It fills me. So, well, until 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I don't
Mhm.
really need any more food at all.
Mhm.
So, but I haven't lost a gram, not yet.
No problem.
So the
We're not
weight
in the
is
weight loss
still,
phase, so that's not a problem.
and basically that's it. And food like well, now I'm noticing that okay, I'm trying to eat without sweets. I mean cakes and refined sugar. So many times I bribe myself with some French fries, and they are like a punch in the stomach.
Mhm.
Just right after, even 10 minutes after, it's like a punch in the stomach. After, with all this light and nice food like the fruits and the Alkagizer, to eat something solid is, and especially French fries or, steak potatoes or whatever, it's not the same as before. Or I didn't pay attention on it because
Yeah.
we always knew that, okay, I eat some French fries, this is the sensation, I know it, it's always the same, and that's it. And we just live with it.
Mhm.
Now it's different, completely different. So I will think twice from now on
Mhm.
if I eat French fries. And that's it, basically.
Okay. Well, great observation. I just want everyone to realize that Vicky joined a reset with me back in mid-June. So she did the first 2 weeks of the challenge and has now joined this July group and is doing the 2 weeks over again. So she's had a lot of opportunity to really dig in and observe these conversations and what's going on, and see how her hungers have changed. So she's had plenty of fruit and Alka-Geyser now for a few weeks, and really allowing that to adjust. You guys that are just starting in July, don't change anything. We really need to make sure that we're having those French fries and those other things that we would normally have in order to make sure that we're seeing how it feels in our body. And I know now that we're going to be adding in all these fruits and vegetables, we're taking care of that nutritional hunger, and your body's going to say, I'm not hungry, I don't need that. And if you would have normally eaten it, you need to eat it. So that's part of the plan right now, these first 2 weeks, to make sure that you're understanding how it makes your body feel. And realizing that it is a punch in the gut, like Vicky said, or how it bloats you, like Vicky's noticing that apples are even in bloating, and that comes to the gut biome and how that is thrown off. And as we go through this process, we're going to continue to introduce more of the good bacteria. All the fiber that we're going to be including from these plants and fruits and vegetables is all for the good bacteria. 90% of what we eat is to feed the bacteria in our gut. And what do they eat? They eat plant fiber. So we need to feed them the good stuff, and making sure that we've got that symbiotic relationship going on with them. Unfortunately, we've had a lot of processed foods or other things that have changed our gut flora because we introduce antibiotics and things like that have killed off some of the good ones. And they don't always get replaced with good ones. They get replaced with bad ones sometimes. And that's where the additional upset stomach and inflammation in the bowels and different things comes from. So there's a couple different types of bacteria. You've got soil-bound bacteria, which people talk about probiotics and getting more from yogurts and fermented foods and things like that. But if you think about a food that's fermenting, it's being broken down. It's all about decay and breaking down that food. When really we want foods that are bacteria that thrive on life. We want elevated bacteria or biotics. Those are the ones that are actually growing not in the soil but up on the plant. So if you're getting a good source of fruits and vegetables, you don't have to scrub the heck out of it in order to, yes, there might be some chemical residues if you're not buying organic. I would suggest soaking your fruits and vegetables in a bowl of water with some baking soda. There's a study done and tests that were done. If you let your fruit or vegetables sit in some baking soda water for like 15 to 20 minutes, 96% of the chemical residues will be eliminated or neutralized. So you don't have to scrub the heck out of them then, because there's good bacteria living on them, and we want to digest that good bacteria. If you can grow anything yourself and that you're not adding all these chemicals to it, it's perfect, because it's going to start to reintroduce that good bacteria to your digestive tract. And I haven't mentioned this all the time, but sprouts are excellent. So if you can sprout different types of seeds, and when you do that, they start to grow all kinds of great bacteria. That's great it's better than any probiotic out there to reintroduce good bacteria to your gut. So I'll throw that in as an added bonus, is getting some more sprouts. And I even have a sprouting garden. It's as simple as a mason jar with a screen lid on it. And, you get the different seeds, soak them in water overnight, and then pour the water off. And then you just rinse them, like twice a day until they sprout. And then you can enjoy those on your salads or in your smoothies even. So
what kind of seeds are you doing that with?
So you've got lentils and broccoli and, all kinds of different things. So I'll post in the Facebook group, different seeds that you can use from a sprouting standpoint. It'll definitely help things out. Was that Shilpi? Or who was that?
Yeah, it was me, Shilpi.
Awesome, Shilpi. Do you want to go next? Check in with us and see how things are going? If you've tried the Alkagizer, are you introducing your fruits and vegetables? How did the buffer zone go?
So I was away for the holiday weekend.
Sure.
And so I've added a lot of the fruits and veggies, and I have not tried the Alkagizer yet just because I'm getting home. I'm on a train right now to get home.
Awesome.
That will be my first thing today. And then I've just been getting more like going to like a farmer's market or a mother's market type of place and getting the ingredients and getting a lot of the juices made.
Okay, so you're getting in the planning mode.
Yeah.
I had a busy weekend too here with Independence Day and family visiting, and you know, it's a special occasion, right? You got all these different outs and things to enjoy. So, yes, adding in those special treats. So it was good.
So my
Go ahead.
other question is, if you travel a lot like I do, or you have like these occasions coming up, like how do you manage around the program?
So it comes down to planning. Eric will say, you know, failing to plan is planning to fail. And there's lots of different things that I do. I travel all around Ohio, and then I also travel for work. So coming up in July, I've got a trip to Orlando, a trip to Detroit. So I also have got, you know, weekly travel that I'm doing within Ohio, where I'll go stay at a hotel for three or four nights during the week. So first off is like meal prep Sunday. So like if I have a Sunday or a Saturday sometime on the weekend to put together a bunch of meals ahead of time, I'll throw them in the freezer and then have those available to take out of the freezer and warm up when I need. From a fruit standpoint, sometimes when I get to the destination, the first stop I'll make is the grocery store. And I'll go stock up on fruits and items for the Alkagizer and things like that, so I can take it back to my hotel room and have those available to snack on or to make my Alkagizer. I've taken my Vitamix with me. Eric will say that he's got a NutriBullet that's a little bit smaller that he can pack in a suitcase if he's going on a flight or something like that, and he'll just take his blender with him. Sometimes you can go to at the destination a smoothie bar or Whole Foods or something like that, and have them make it for you. I know there's a lot of juices that Whole Foods has that are fresh juices that you can utilize there as well. What else? Oh, just when I have a few overnights, I'll actually say I'm gone for 3 days and I'm not flying, but I'm just driving. I will I'll make up Alkagizers ahead of time and put them in the freezer and take those with me in a cooler. And then when I get to the hotel, they're there in the refrigerator or on ice. And they're usually good for, 2 or 3 days. The other thing is ask the concierge or ask the hotel to make it. A lot of times they have a blender and you just give them the recipe. If I'm going to a nice hotel, I tell the concierge before I get there, here's the recipe, this is what I need. And I've had it already where they have one waiting in my room when I arrive. So there's that option as well. So don't hesitate to go to a restaurant and see if they've got the ingredients, if they'll put it together for you. It's the same as even, when you order from a menu, look at the menu as a list of ingredients and how can I combine these together to meet the needs that I have for getting enough of the good stuff. So hopefully that gives you a few ideas there, Shilpi. But there's going to, in the challenge, we go into even more, and Eric's got some bonus videos for travel as well. So he'll share, obviously Eric's traveling all the time as well. So he tells you how he does it as well.
Great. Thank you.
What else? Any other questions you have?
Just more if like specifically, because obviously you said you're freezing the meals on Sunday, but if you're traveling, you're not taking those meals with you. So what are you doing for the meals when you're traveling?
Meals while I'm out?
Yeah.
Usually it's eating out, restaurants, and talking either with the concierge at the hotel or with the waiter at the restaurant. And don't be afraid to be that person and say, this is what I need, this is what I can have, what I can't have. But don't look at the dishes that they normally make as the only option. You look at it as a list of ingredients. So I see that there's broccoli in this dish and there's, asparagus in this dish. Can, you just put together some roasted or sauteed or steamed or however you'd like it. And same thing from a meat standpoint. A lot of times you get into the different sauces and things like that, and you don't know what's in the barbecue sauce or the marinade or things like that. So just asking them to leave that out, put it on the side, or not use it at all throughout the process. So I will go out to eat when I'm traveling, and like for lunch, Chipotle is great because I know that they're sourcing their things locally and that they're fresh and good ingredients. So I'll have a salad from Chipotle or talk to Panera and see what different options they have for their salad. So it's part of this process is gathering and identifying what are the restaurants actually putting into the foods that you're eating. But then going out to eat, don't hesitate to ask and tell them, I can't have this or I can't have that. Can you just leave that out? And a lot of times the chef is excited to make something special for you. I've had a chef come out already and ask me how the dish was, and he was excited to make something new because they're tired of making the same old dish over and over and over again on the menu. So they went to school and they want to be creative, and you've given them an avenue to be a little more creative. So they sometimes appreciate that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we just lost them.
One other quick question.
Go ahead.
I use coconut yogurt like to make a parfait or like put fruit in with cinnamon. Is that okay?
Yes. Yeah. We're not really supposed to change anything at this point. So if you've had a parfait with coconut yogurt, that's perfect. Continue to have that and not a problem. You're asking if you can have it first thing in the morning with your fruit? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, I don't usually have granola or anything in there. I just mix like fresh cut fruit like blueberries or strawberries and put it in coconut yogurt with a tiny bit of honey and cinnamon powder.
Okay. Fruit is supposed to be, first thing on an empty stomach because of the combining. When we start to add in the fat from the coconut, our liver starts to have to produce different bile acids to break down that fat. So first off, another addition to having fruits first thing in the morning on an empty stomach is the benefits that it has for our liver. So I think I talked about it a little bit where our liver wakes up early, maybe like 4 o'clock in the morning, and starts to go through a cleansing process because it knows you're asleep and you're not going to throw some, crazy things at it that it has to digest or some, toxic environment. So it starts this cleansing process and starts to clean house. And if we, first thing in the morning, we start to throw at, coconut, even though it's a great healthy fat, it's going to take that liver out of, cleansing mode and into, bile production, where it has to produce bile even to break down the coconut fats. So if we can, keep that cleansing process going longer, and fruit actually provides, these critical clean carbohydrates to the liver that keep it, in that cleansing mode, where it doesn't, the fruits are like pre-digested. It comes with all the enzymes and things they need and to digest them. And it doesn't have the liver shifting gears. It's just providing the sugar the liver needs in order to provide, continue that function. So if we can, have fruits on an empty stomach and continue that process a little bit longer, it's better. But we've talked about adding parfaits. You might not notice it as much when you start to add in different meats. Like some people will have fruit at the end of a meal after they've just had, a piece of meat. And the stomach acid to break down that meat has to be very concentrated, and not having these fruits afterwards sitting in there in your warm stomach for a long period of time, just lends to it to ferment in your stomach, which is going to provide, bloating and heartburn, indigestion, and all those types of things. So while it's not, a terrible thing, it's going to help your digestion to have the fruit first thing on an empty stomach by itself, and then wait to add in the yogurts and, granola and things later.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So a couple of things. Any other questions from anybody before I share some other things? Awesome. So your cravings are going to start to change. And this week, it's key to continue to eat the way you've normally been eating, and see how you're feeling. We're continuing to bring that awareness, that conscious awareness to our foods and how they make you feel. So there may be times where you're totally nourished from a hunger standpoint. Realize that, where you've eliminated the thirst hunger because we're drinking all this water. Now we're taking in all these fruits and vegetables and the alkalizer. We're going to eliminate the nutritional hunger as well. So that leaves low blood sugar hunger. If you're, throughout the morning grazing on fruit, you probably don't have any problems there. You may notice it a little bit later after you stop fruit. Just depends, if you have these cravings for sugar, where you add in some sweet treats later on. From a empty stomach, we're having plenty to eat. We should not be going hungry. So we're avoiding that empty stomach feeling. Variety, we're adding in some more variety with all the fruits and vegetables. Hopefully you're trying some new things as well. And that kind of exposes more of the emotional hunger. And really, why are you eating the way you're eating? So it's a great opportunity to dig in and observe, what is the underlying, reason for me having this. And I know some people posted about the, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and even Tony Robbins has got some thoughts as to what's going on from our basic human needs and how are we getting those fulfilled. So pay attention to that awareness, that timeline, and really slow things down. I know we're all busy and constantly on the go, but take a few minutes to slow down and analyze how you feel before you eat it, the decision in making it, and to have that. Then the first bite, the second bite, and then have this awareness while you're eating so you don't get into the mindless eating mode. That was a survival technique that is ingrained in our software. And then even later on afterwards, the punch in the gut, so to speak, and how does it make you feel later? Keep drinking your water, 6 to 8 glasses of water a day. Your breathing exercises, doing the 5-5-5, whether that's 5 times, at least twice a day. And now the increase in fruits, vegetables, and alkalizer. So 2 to 3 pieces of fruit first thing on an empty stomach. You can be more. I've had some people ask it, is there a limit? If you want to have more, you can. It's when you start to have the more concentrated foods, the fats, the proteins, and things like that you want to, and the grains, where you want to switch away from the fruit. From water, I know there were some questions about drinking while you're eating. The gastric emptying time for water is about 30 minutes. So waiting, a half hour after you drank to start to eat is only going to help better your digestion. You'll have, stronger stomach acids that is going to lead to better digestion of your food and getting all the nutrients from that food. So fruits on an empty stomach, your vegetables, it should be the majority of your plate. We say doubling the amount of your vegetables. If you haven't had any vegetables, you need to be adding in some vegetables. We talked about during this, how to prep them. If it's going to be steamed, roasted, sauteed, you got different options in order to make your vegetables. At this point, it's just getting more vegetables in. And it may be raw, and including those in your salad as well. Alkalizer. So use it as a base recipe, and add in different things that you need to in order to get the taste, the consistency, the flavor, the way you like it. It's about getting enough of the good stuff. We're actually using a blender at this point to cut down on all the chewing. That's a lot of ingredients in that alkalizer. So we're all busy and we're constantly on the go. So it's going to help us from a chewing standpoint to get through all of those vegetables. Because as a gatherer, we would have been grazing majority part of the day. So it's like one for me, one for the basket, and that's how things were. You're constantly eating as you're picking for more for later. So I think that's about it from an enhancement standpoint. You guys mentioned a little bit earlier, it's not necessarily a weight loss program, and you may not be losing any weight now. That's perfectly normal. So don't worry about that. You took your measurements and your weight at the beginning. If that's going to be a problem for you, just quit weighing yourself. Don't look at it until later. And Ivo's back. Ivo?
Hi, guys.
Hi there.
Hi.
Opportunity
I'm
for you.
driving and my cell coverage is not so great at this point.
No problem. We can hear you now. How has everything been going? Did you have you introduced any of the enhancements yet?
Yeah. So basically that's the first time I'm joining such call, right? Because here in Bulgaria, most of the calls are like 2-3 a.m. in the morning. But I watched everything, and I'm excited about the feedback that you are getting from all the participants, right? So for me, I'm doing everything what Eric said, right? Except the alkalizer. I decided to start doing it from tomorrow.
Okay.
But to be honest, I'm juicing a lot, not so much blending, mostly juicing. So I'm already getting most of this stuff that is in alkalizer every single day, without the fiber, of course, because juicing is extracting the fiber.
Yes.
But I'm really excited to see how this is going to go next couple of days. I have the same kind of blender like you showed in the video in the Facebook group. So I'm guessing that I won't have any problems with blending these ingredients. I'm not so successful with the dialogue thing. I'm not sure why. I tried a couple of times. I'm trying to be more conscious about all the choices when before I'm eating something, during that time, and after, to half an hour after eating. But I don't get really much of the devil talk. Just a couple of times, right? Because I had like 2 days I had ice cream late at night, which is not good. Even though it's very healthy kind, it's not that great. And I had this talk, but just this couple of times, right? So that was my disappointment, because I'm seeing all of the other guys on these calls are sharing a lot of interesting talks. So I'm not sure, maybe I'm not as conscious as them during this, how should I say, moments before eating. So
Yeah.
I'm trying really hard in that area. I won't have any problem with the fruit and the vegetables. I'm already eating a lot of them. I just have one question, because Eric said, well, a few pieces of fruit in the morning. First,
Mhm.
I'm not getting any breakfast, and this is last 6 years. I'm starting my eating around noon, maybe even 2 p.m. afternoon.
Yeah.
And usually I'm eating my fruits after the main meal, like dessert. And when Eric explained that this is going to create problems because of the fermenting thing and everything else, and you will have gases and so on,
Yeah.
this is happening a lot. So last, let's say, three days, right? I'm doing the opposite. I'm having the fruit in the beginning of my lunch, for example. And it's really, really helping me a lot with this kind of issues. So I'm really grateful for this information.
Awesome.
Yeah. But my question is regarding fruit, because he said few pieces of fruit in the morning on an empty stomach. That's fine. I'm having this at lunch because my stomach is empty at that point. But can I have more than just few pieces? Because now it's a summertime. There is a lot of great fresh fruits. I don't want to miss them. I'm not sure if that's okay or not.
No, you're perfectly fine. So it sounds like you're eating very healthy already to begin with. So if you're adding in, more fruit, not a problem. You can add in. You can continue to have fruit up until you, like you said, you start to have your regular lunch, where you start to introduce the grains, the fats, the proteins, and some of those other ingredients. As long as it's plant material like fruits and vegetables, you can continue to have it most of the day.
Perfect. Okay then. So I'm fine with that then, because this was really, I'm eating a lot of fruit and a lot of vegetables and a little bit of dairy and meat. And if I remove most of the fruit, it's going to be painful.
No, you're fine. You'll do. I'm great that you're actually observing some difference with having the fruit first thing on an empty stomach as well. So it's great that you shared that. My father had to learn the hard way as well, and he doesn't always listen to his son, but it was the same thing. I think Eric even talked about it too, where once upon a time he thought he was having a heart attack, and Eric's father had to call into the nurse's line, and because he was concerned about the indigestion, the heartburn, and thought it may have been a heart attack from the pain. So he said, wait a second, you had fruit after your meal? That's the problem. You have heartburn and indigestion from that. So thanks for sharing your experience. We appreciate it.
Exactly my story. And also, just as a final, I have two of these parents as well that are not believing in this thing.
Yeah. I mean,
I know how you feel.
That's what this experience, the WildFit Challenge is all about, the experience. You can tell people, a lot of people know what they should eat and shouldn't eat. But it comes down to the experience and having the experience and seeing how it feels in your body. And your body's telling you what works and what doesn't work. So I wouldn't be concerned about not hearing that dialogue from the devil. It sounds like you're eating very well already. It does take practice, but like you said with the ice cream, there'll be little things that come up. And for now, these first 2 weeks really, where everyone's supposed to be eating what they normally will, you've got, Eric said eat it, and that kind of ends the conversation. So you don't have as much of the back and forth all the time. So don't worry, it'll continue to grow, and you'll continue to bring more of that awareness to your eating habits. So maybe you've just got a really strong angel and you're eating healthy already.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Well, it was great meeting you. Thanks for joining in.
Sure.
I'm glad to have you in this group as well. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Me too.
Well, I was pretty much summarizing everything for you. I'm basically buying time to see if Ivo was going to come back, which was great. I'm glad you had an opportunity to join us. That's about it for today. If you have any other questions, concerns, don't hesitate to reach out in the Facebook group. We'll see you again soon, and good luck with your fruits, your vegetables, and your Alka-Geyser. So bye for now. Enjoy.
Thank you. Bye-bye.